What's up, everyone? I'm Nate.
I'm Sarah.
And we're back again.
Today we're talking about
being adopted, or at least my experience of being adopted.
Yeah, I'm not adopted, so I'm mainly going to be asking him questions.
Yeah.
And he's going to be doing he's going to do all the sharing. Because I have no experience being adopted.
Yeah. Fun fact, everyone, I'm adopted. If you didn't know that, now you do.
How would you describe the reality of being adopted versus the assumptions that you hear?
My personal experience with being adopted has maybe been a little bit different than other people's, but I feel like there's this kind of assumption that it's like, there's like this burning desire to know your biological parents. For me, at least, that was never really my experience. And every situation of being put up for adoption and being adopted in the first place is going to be 110% different.
This one's like more specific for you from your experience. It's what is it like having a white mom in public as a black person?
Another fun fact, my mom is white. And that's a lot of fun. Sometimes. Sometimes it's really annoying, but like my mom is a good sport, and so we have a lot of fun with it. We play a lot of games with people. Like sometimes we'd be at the store or something, and she'd start putting the food on the little conveyor belt, and I'd start putting food up there too. And the cashier would be like, "Oh, only one person at a time." And then I'd be like, "Oh, don't worry, she's paying for all my groceries." Actually, also in school at like the parent-teacher conferences, I was walking with a friend of mine and who will remain nameless. But my mom was walking in front of us, and she was like, "Is that your mom?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's my mom." She's like, "But she's white." But like, this person is not a really good whisperer, so my mom heard it and turned around and was like, "Oh, I'm white?" But it's a lot of fun, but also it can get kind of annoying.
I was gonna say, I can imagine there's times where it doesn't feel as fun.
Yeah.
Like it's just annoying. So the next question is, how do you feel about being renamed after you were adopted?
This is actually a conversation that I had for the first time like last year. Like I had never even thought about it, but someone brought it up and was basically kind of like, "Oh, it seems kind of disrespectful to like change the kid's name after adopting them." But I mean, maybe this is just me, but I don't really feel that way. I mean, yeah, I was really young when I was adopted. I was about 3 years old, so I don't really remember anything before that. Before I was adopted, my name was Kayshawn, and my parents changed my middle name to Sean, and that's just what I went by. And they did this to choose a name that was close to the name that I had learned and been associated with myself for the 3 years prior. And then I think when I was about 11 years old, I decided to start going by Nate. It depends on how old the kid is when they're adopted. I guess if the kid is older when you adopt them, then it kind of is up to the kid as well. Maybe the kid just wants to change their name because I think that would be cool. Yeah. And here's a chance to like change your name to something.
How would you compare how TV portrays being adopted to what it's actually like for you?
I mean, obviously since it's TV, they have to like make it way more dramatic, but I think that's a big part of it, is that they make it like really, really dramatic. And
I mean, some people might have the experience, but for you, you were adoption.
Yeah, so for me, it's not like that at all. I mean, me personally, if I've gotten in an argument with my parents, I've never said anything like, "Well, you're not my real dad," or "You're not my real mom," or anything like that. For me, like I said a little bit earlier, there wasn't really like a burning desire to like go out and find my biological parents. That's just me personally, and that's a big thing that they kind of always have in TV or film. I was always like interested to like meet them and see how that was.
So what was it like for you meeting your biological parent?
It was really, really interesting. Meeting my biological mom it kind of felt like something that would happen on TV, like it wasn't real life. Me and my little sister, who is my half-sister, we have the same mom but different dads, were at a Super Bowl party at my aunt's house, and one of my cousins had a friend over, and the cousin's friend was just like asking a bunch of questions to my little sister, and after about 15, 20 minutes of questions, she goes, so this is going to sound really weird, but I'm pretty sure I am your biological cousin. And I know your biological mom, and if you want, we can call her right now and you guys can talk to her. Yeah. And that was how that went. So the first conversation that I ever had with my biological mom was over the phone at a Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
And then from there, my biological dad found out that we had met my biological mom, and so then he DM'd me on Instagram and was just like, hey, I would love to meet you. The actual experience of meeting them is really weird. And especially because at the time when I met my biological mom, I was 18.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's kind of the time where you're kind of, like, not pushing your parents away, but you're, like, trying to, like...
become more independent.
Yeah, become more independent and not rely on your parents so much, maybe.
And you multiplied them.
And now I just added another, another parent. Yeah, and then I met my biological dad a year later, and I think meeting him was a lot more smooth just because I had done it once. And so there's just no expectation or anything like that at all. So
I know the answer to this question, but for your guys' sake, did you know a lot of people that were also adopted growing up?
Yes, I did. All of my siblings, except for one, are all adopted, and I have 7 siblings. Yeah. Other than my family, I actually don't remember. Oh, there was one other family of kids that we knew that were adopted.
Yeah, I didn't really realize until I started dating you how few people I knew that were adopted. Like, it seems so normal being adopted or common, but I really didn't know that many people that were adopted.
And one girl in high school I knew was adopted.
What was it like meeting your biological siblings that you didn't grow up with?
It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I met 2 of them. Those are my 2 little brothers from my biological dad. It was cool and, like, really, really weird because the only younger siblings that I have are little sisters. Mm-hmm. So I went from being, like, the younger brother to being, like, the older brother in, like, seconds.
It was really interesting to see someone, like, I mean, because that's not a common, like, switch to make.
No.
Not a common, like, dynamic change to make. So it was really interesting to see you, having seen you as a younger brother for so many people, to then see you as an older brother for some. It was interesting.
Yeah. The first time seeing them and really talking to them was really just, like, kind of getting to know them and see where they're at. I think that was, like, the coolest part was just, like, we've grown up so separately and, like, known of each other but not known each other, and then to just, like, hear them talk and, like, things and realize and see these, like, similarities is, like, extremely weird.
How old were you when you found out that like they existed, basically, that you had 2 younger siblings?
When I was 19, so, like, 5 years ago. Yeah. But my other little brother from my mom, I've known about him since I was little.
So the siblings that you grew up with, you obviously have a lot in common with them. When you met the oldest of your biological siblings, it was so clear that you guys were related.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first time I'd seen someone that had looked so much like you. What was it like that for you? Like, having never met someone and have them be so similar to you?
It was really, really weird. It was kind of like looking in a mirror.
I imagine it'd be like finding out you have a twin if you didn't know you had a sibling.
Yeah. We're, like, into the same things.
Yeah.
Like, mannerisms are, like, the same. He, like, sat the exact same way that I sat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, their physicality was so similar. It was, like, the way they sat, the way they stood, the way they walked, even their laugh was really similar, and their smiles. I was always someone who put more weight on nurture than I did nature. But seeing you 2 in the same room, having never met before, and how similar you 2 were, it was really interesting.
Yeah. It's always really interesting meeting someone like that, that has a lot of similarities with you, because I, even myself, didn't really think I was going to have a lot in common. I didn't think that we were going to have very many similarities, but I was very wrong.
You've grown up very different. All your biological family have had very different experiences than you, so it's interesting how much you guys have in common.
Yeah.
How would you compare, like, the relationship I have with my sister versus the relationship you have with your siblings that you've grown up with, your adoptive siblings?
I would say not too different. We're all protective of each other. Like, there is still that sense of, like, I'm the only one who's allowed to beat up my little sibling, or I'm the only one who's allowed to talk mess about my sibling. Like, no one else is allowed to. Yeah, no, I would say that there's not a big difference at all, at least from what I can see and from the relationship that I have with them.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we're going to get into the fun part. We're going to talk about some stupid questions that people ask adopted kids. And some of these questions I have been asked myself. Question number 1 that adopted kids get is, do you know your real parents? First off, this question is wrong and offensive because saying that the adopted parents are not their real parents, like, that's kind of really rude. My adopted parents are just as much my real parents as Sarah's parents are her real parents. They raised me into the person that I am today, and that makes them pretty real to me. So if you are going to ask a question, ask this question, the better way to phrase it would be to say, do you know your biological parents? Question number 2, do you wish you knew your real parents? Once again, we're gonna get into the real parents. I guess you could ask, do you know your biological parents, or do you wish you knew your biological parents? And that's a fair question. Once again, just try and steer clear of saying real parents.
I feel like all these are things that's like, I can't imagine just casually asking someone. Maybe if it's like, if you're a close friend or something.
Question number 3, we're gonna get into some more real parent drama. Asking, can you really accept them as your real parents? This being talking about the adoptive parents. Can you accept them as your real parents? Like I said before, they are real parents. Biological or not doesn't make a parent any less real. It's not a fake parent.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, question number 4. This is really, really bad. Do not ever ask. There is no way that you can phrase this question that is not, like, rude. Basically, do not ever ask an adopted kid why their parents gave them up. And I've been asked that. Don't ever ask that. You can be diving into a lot of feeling and maybe stuff that hasn't even, like, been really figured out by the kid themselves. It's just a bad question, and it's honestly kind of none of your business. Do not ask an adopted kid why their biological parent gave them up. So one more thing is, like, telling an adopted kid, like, oh, your parents are so amazing for wanting you, or, like, your parents are so amazing for doing that. And while, yes, that is very true, I think that people that adopt kids, like, I think that's really, really awesome. But be careful with your tone, because it makes it seem like you are a negative thing.
Like a burden.
Yeah, that makes it seem like I'm a burden, and that's not the case. I mean, some people just want, they want to adopt kids, and that's just what they want to do. It is. Any kid is a blessing, and so putting a negative connotation on having a child in any sort of way, steer clear of that. It's not good.
Thanks for sharing so much personal stuff.
Yes, yes.
I'm sure I'll share some too, but there's a lot of white voices out there, so I think it's more important to share some non-white voices.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not yet, hit that like button and also subscribe for more. Please subscribe. It would mean a lot to us. If any of you guys have any questions that you want to ask me, feel free. Like I said, if you watch this video, steer clear of saying real parents and all of that kind of stuff. But if you have any questions, go ahead and send them all over. And in a later video, maybe I'll answer some questions. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.